Dragon Ball Super Broly is probably the closest Super has ever gotten to feeling like the original manga. That isn't to say it's perfect. Goku and Vegeta are as uninteresting as they've always been in Super. Frieza, while entertaining, doesn't really fit in all too well as the typical I'll be back villain. Gogeta, while cool, doesn't add anything to the story, and I know this has been a thing since Resurrection F, but having characters so easily reach Goku and Vegeta's strength still really bugs me. That said, I'm able to look past these issues because Broly and his story are actually somewhat compelling. Similar to the original manga, a major theme of the film is about the importance of guidance. This time around, however, we're exploring how harmful and damaging it can be if that guidance turns into control. Despite what King Vegeta may have said, Broly didn't have to turn out the way he did. His true nature is that of a kind and gentle soul that may not even like fighting to begin with, despite his latent abilities. Ironically enough, though, the only reason he ended up turning out this way was entirely because of Paragus. He was so consumed by his own quest for vengeance that he started seeing his son less like a person and more like a weapon, so much so that he wasn't even allowed to have any kind of friends. To make things even worse, whenever Broly got angry, the only thing Paragus could think of to make him stop was to electrocute him, never considering how this kind of treatment would affect him. Further complicating the matter is the fact that despite all of this, Broly still respects and loves his father. With all these factors compounding on one another, it's not hard to see why Broly turned out to be such a beast, especially when he lands on Earth and is so close to fulfilling his father's vendetta. He may have a good heart, but this is what he was raised to be. What makes Broly's story hit even harder is how it contrasts with Goku's. I don't care for Dragon Ball Minus on its own, but its inclusion here helps remind us of how different Goku and Broly's environments ended up being. Where Broly is bound by his father's ambitions and forced to fight, Goku was sent to Earth, giving him a free life. His masters may have pushed him to improve, but at the end of the day, it was his choice. Broly, on the other hand, never had a choice. All he could do in his barren world was survive and train for his father's revenge. It consumed every aspect of his life, so while Goku's words of living in peace on Earth may reach Broly's heart, what else can he do? As much as he may want to forego it, he's mentally bound by his father's desires, which is why when Paragus dies, Broly understandably loses all sense of self and purpose. Despite how depressing this all is, the film ends on a hopeful note. With his anger finally quelled and with Paragus dead, Broly is finally able to move on and live as himself, no longer bound by his father's abuse and with friends that genuinely care for him. His soul can finally be free. To make things even better, with Goku around, he can have a proper teacher that can help him hone his strength. And who knows, he may even end up enjoying combat now that it isn't forced on him. Thinking on it, Broly shares a lot of similarities to both Piccolo and Gohan, which is really interesting. Dragon Ball Super Broly has a good story at its core, and I genuinely enjoyed it. That said, I kind of feel the film itself fumbles a bit when telling it. Don't get me wrong, the animation is beautiful and the first half of the film is actually really well done, but when the action starts, it almost never lets up. We move from one fight to the other with little to no time in between. They're cool, yeah, but it feels as though the action is taking more precedence than the emotions that should be driving it. The film has a few scenes where it reels it back to focus on Broly's character, but there are only a few and they don't last long. Take Paragus' death, for example. Yes, we can see Broly's face in turmoil and understand that he completely loses himself when his irises shatter, but that's all we get. Once that's done, we're immediately thrust back into the action. Certain songs trying to hype up the fight as Broly loses himself or is getting beat up by Gogeta also doesn't help. I suppose Broly is still the antagonist when all is said and done, so they don't want us to feel too bad for him, but he's also set up as an emotionally damaged character, and to not explore that more is really unfortunate. That said, I still like the way it was handled overall, and again, this is the closest Super has gotten to feeling like the original manga. Man, it's so nice when Toriyama actually tries. Anywho, as always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.